Yo folks, welcome back. So this is probably another video to show you why I think Bitwig Studio is great. Because I can explore all the modular concepts without using external VST plugins or, buy another VST plugin on another hardware device or anything like this. I just have Bitwig Studio and I can explore in all kinds of different directions. Of course, you need the knowledge. But it's also not that hard, but you can explore, right? You can try out something and see if it works for you. So here in Bitwig, we have a completely empty project, nothing special. And let's say I want to create a track. I have no idea, I have no plan or anything like this. I just use maybe a polymer synthesizer here. And there are some modulators here attached, which I just delete for now. And you can just play this synthesizer on the keyboard. Let's say you don't want to use the wavetable synthesizer because it's very boring. You switch this over to pulse oscillator here. Maybe open up here the filter, maybe use a different envelope, only AD without sustain. And we want to modulate here the pulse with a random modulator. Can do this bipolar smoothing up, and this is the modulation strength. And normally I would just put here a reverb at the end, so let's say VST. We can also detune here the left and the right oscillator. But instead of using here this VST reverb, we can use the Bitwig internal reverbs. Let's say the normal algorithmic reverb here. And this is my default preset, which doesn't sound great, but we can use the Tank FX here, which is the feedback box. We can put a convolution reverb in there. That's okay. Which is kind of nice. But we can also use the Delay Plus, which has some diffusion algorithms here. But what I like to do is to do my own reverbs with a bit of, let's say, test tone here. And this gives us here a Dirac signal. Just a small burst of noise, and we can feed this into, let's say, maybe a supermassive. Warp goes up, feedback goes up, filter goes a bit more open here. That's okay. Then we hit record here on the master recording. And then we get a bit of noise out of the supermassive. So let's go here to this, and we have here this impulse response. We can use then here in the convolution reverb. Just put this in there. Maybe start here. So we have a reverb from the supermassive here. But we can also combine this. Say, let's say this is here an impulse response. It's pretty static because it's just one sample. So we can put here in the wet FX only on the tail, or on the reverb tail. You can put a chorus here, make this a bit more modulated in a way, or use the reverb of Bitwig here to add an algorithmic reverb. So with this we have a convolution reverb with the sample, chorus to modulate it, and then a reverb here, an algorithmic reverb. So we combine algorithmic and convolution. Maybe I can make this a bit even fatter by using voice stacking. So we use 4 voice stacks here. So this patch is playing basically 4 times now, and then use a stack spread, going from -1 to +1 for the padding. So voice 1 gets on the left side, right? Voice 2 is here, voice 3 is in the middle, and so on. Let's go to 1. And then on each voice, I wanted to tune it slightly. So each voice then gets a different amplitude envelope and slightly different filter envelope, and it makes everything a bit more organic and very wide and fat. And also very loud. Okay, so that's that. Maybe make this a bit shorter. Let's say we want to play a melody with this. But also I want to have some kind of rhythmic effect here on the reverb. Maybe put a filter here on top of that just to get rid of some of the top end. Maybe use here the transfer curve to expand the sound. That's better. Okay, so let's say I want to make this a bit more rhythmically or rhythmical. I create, let's say, a polygrid. In the polygrid, we have a default setup here: sine oscillator, amplitude envelope. Let's get rid of this, and we use noise. We use white noise in stereo, and we use an AD here. Go into that. So this is an amplitude envelope, and we want to trigger this here, of course, not with the keyboard. We want to trigger this with a trigger module. 4 times for each bar. That's maybe okay. Maybe I also use here free run when stopped. So every time I hit stop here on the thing, it doesn't do anything. So let's use a phase signal, which is exactly 1 bar long. You can see this is a ramp signal going up from 0 to 1. And we use this as a modulation signal to modulate the decay time here. So over time, this gets longer. And maybe we start here with 16 and then go slower. Let's say this. It's kind of okay. Maybe a high pass here. High pass this a little bit. And then I trigger here for the left and right channel at the same time. So what I do is I use a stereo split to split the gate signal into 2 signals, the left signal and the right signal. So I can just delay, let's say, the right channel by, what's this here? 1/16 note. Okay, so the right channel is slightly delayed. So it sounds kind of like a ping pong delay. Maybe I make this a bit longer. So instead of using this here, I'm using a transport. So here I can change the phase length from just 1 bar to, let's say, 4 bars, and also use the modulation, and then make this the same thing. Let's go to -12. Let's see how this sounds. And I also want to increase here the high pass, and I want to go down in volume, so it gets quieter over time. I think this is fine for now. I don't want to make it overly complicated. Maybe I can put an all pass here in there, but I just leave it for now. So we have 4 bars. I think this should be okay. So let's bounce this. Maybe I may make it a bit longer. Let's see if this looks better. Yeah, that's okay. 4 bars. I see it. I see my problem here. Oh, that's the wrong track. Let's bounce this. This is much better. So this looks good. This is now our reverb. Anyway. And then I put this here onto the convolution reverb on the first track again. Go back to my files here. Put this in there. Can delete here this whole grid, we don't need it. Also this one. So now we have here a very rhythmic reverb, and it's also synchronized to 110 BPM. That's also important to know. And then we can put here another delay at the end. It's maybe a bit too long, so we can fade this out here. Or maybe do something like this. Let's see how this sounds when I have here a longer attack. Okay, so now I could just draw in here some notes. But I also could just take here, let's say, a note grid in front. And just say I want to generate the notes. So for generating the notes, I'm using, what do I use? Something very strange. I use a scroll oscillator here. So instead of using this as an oscillator, I'm feeding this here a phase input, which is also just 1 bar long, ramp signal, 100%, and I go down to 0. So this plays here over 1 bar. So it plays the waveform shape over 1 bar. Just you can see the shape in here then. So in here, I can use the draw thing and just draw some random points in. Maybe stay on 0 here at the end. And then select everything and use chaos here. scale it back, chaos, scale it back, chaos. Doesn't really matter. So we get here some kind of random up and down movement. And we use this to feed this into a pitch quantizer. And then use my scale, my D# minor scale. Transpose, so I transpose this up by 3, and the reason for this is I want to land on D#, but 0 in here means C, which is not what I want. I want to have D here, so 0 in here means D#, which is the root note. Can I increase this here? Maybe I pull this down also to 0 here, just to make sure to have here the root in the beginning at the end. That's maybe important to get a kind of meaningful melody. So we have a changing melody here. So we also need some triggers. So we can use 2 trigger modules here. One is 16 note and the other one is something odd, maybe 9. Clock quantizer. And we use this to trigger here the note output. So we trigger notes and we get a pitch here. Use also sample and hold. So now we can change the melody by just selecting this here. And use the chaos. So the more you scale it up, the higher, so the more the value is here, the higher the pitch is, and here the lower the pitch is. So now the pattern, or the melody pattern, is exactly 1 bar long, because this phase signal is 1 bar long. So we can again use here the transport thing and switch this to bar and say 2 bars and feed this in here. So now the melody is 2 bars long, so it plays back this shape over 2 bars. Just to make sure we have some D sharps in here, which is the root. Maybe scale it back. So now we can also change here the trigger over time, triggers over time. So let's use a modulator here. And remember, this is here the ramp signal that goes from 0 to 1 over the course of 2 bars. So you can modulate here this. So I have a melody playing here. I can also implement here a button. And let's call this fifth. And with this button I just want to transpose everything 5 semitones down, maybe in front of the pitch quantizer. Let's do this. -5. Or let's say I use this, make it really a fifth by going up 7 semitones. I also could maybe block all the notes coming in from the piano roll and say I want to have a pitch in. And instead of using here +3 and the transpose, I just kill this and use add and use the pitch in. So I add basically my pattern to the pitch coming in, and the pitch coming in is more or less my root note. Something like this, and I make this longer. 4 bars, and then I go maybe down here and down here. So right, I can define a different root pitch and everything then follows, but the pattern is the same. So I transpose the pattern up and down by, what's this here, second? 1, 2, 1, 2, yeah. But in my opinion, it sounded a bit better before, huh? So you can see you can create sounds and reverbs just in no time, create melody patterns just with the grid here, with misusing a lot of different modules. And I also already create with the reverb here kind of a pad below everything. So it's almost like using multiple sounds at once. I could also use do something stupid here and say I split this in half also into left and right channel. So the left channel goes into that and just plays the melody, but the right channel I use reverse. So I reverse the signal, and for that, or maybe merge this. And then I use split here again. So right, the left signal is untouched here, phase signal. We get the normal melody signal from here, and we use this for the melody. But for the right signal, it's reversed, and for that, we use this maybe as a signal for the velocity here. But here it's below 0, which is a problem, so maybe I use apps for that. And I increase this with an amp. So the range or the value range is bigger. And then I go into velocity here. So this is more or less here the velocity. Velocity, holy shit. Then we can use expressions here, use the velocity for something else, maybe the filter modulation amount. So this is just one simple example. I could do this basically now for hours, and that's why I usually do streams. But you can explore in so many different directions, just without touching the piano roll at all, or maybe, you know, you just stay in here and explore kind of different signals and use different signals for different things, and modulate everything and create your own reverbs. And then you can see it's almost like having a pad sound or drone sound in the background, because I'm using here the convolution reverb, and then some kind of ARP on top playing a melody. And we can change the melody at any time by just changing the signal, which also changes here the velocity. And, you know, everything influences everything in a kind of interesting way. I could also probably use here an audio rate modulator, and then use the output of this whole chain, right? So I use here the output of the polymer post and get the output here in front, and then modulate something in here. I don't know what exactly, but maybe I can also put this in here, post FX. Does this work? No. So let's put this in here. Just influence here the filter with the output. That's too much. But yeah, I could also put this here. And amplify here the signal with just the signal. You can see it gives you a bit of noise in there, but maybe you can influence this in a bigger way, but you can do everything basically. So that's my point of this video. It's not like the result we're having now, it's more like I can explore in all kinds of different directions and just use simple modular concepts in every place without touching any VST, and create my own sound, my own melodies, get new ideas and have some fun. That's why we're doing this, right? We want to have some fun. I mean, in the future, it's probably also that we are kind of replaced with AI at some point. So it's not the point of having a release, because release, you just type in a prompt and you get a release. We are doing this because we have fun doing music and doing sounds. So this is a perfect way of doing, having fun doing sounds, in my opinion. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Probably if you have some questions, let me know. Maybe I can do some specific tutorials to explain everything a bit slower. This one was a bit fast. It was more like having a point why I'm using Bitwig. But yeah, maybe I can do some specific tutorials about specific things I showed today. That's it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.